Hi, welcome to part 4 of our Crazy Birds app. So in part 3 we added in the reset button component, but we didn't program it. So we're going to do that in part 4. We're also going to set up a score in part 4. So let's get started. You want to go to Layout and drag in a horizontal arrangement, and you want to drag it into the top. There we go. And inside that arrangement we're going to have two labels. So let's go ahead and drag in two labels. The first label we're going to rename. That's going to be our score label, and the score label will say the word score. So under text you want to type in the word score, and let's give the font size, let's change it to 30. We'll bold it, and you can pick a color that you want for your score. The second label we're going to rename, and that's going to be the score value label, and that will contain the numerical value for the score. So I'm going to set the text to 0 and bold it. I'll put the font size at 30, and I'm just going to leave the color at black. You can change it to whatever you want. Okay, so once you have those components in, let's go to the blocks. First thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the reset button. From part 3 we have when the bird collides with the top or the bottom pipe, that the bird enabled is false. So the bird stops, and then our reset button and our game over label are visible, and the clocks for our pipes that are also turned off. So our pipes don't move anymore. So we need to basically reverse all that with the reset button. So let's go to the reset button. When the reset button is clicked, and I'm just going to right click and duplicate this, we want the bird to turn back on when we hit the reset button. So we're going to change the value to true. We want the reset button to no longer be visible, so we'll set that to false. We want the game over label to also be non-visible, so we'll change that to false. And then we want our clocks to turn back on for the top pipe clock and the bottom pipe clock. So we'll duplicate this and we'll switch these values to true for both these. So duplicate top pipe clock and bottom pipe clock, timer enabled. You want them both set to true to turn them back on. And then after that we need to set up, and if you want you can go ahead and test it just to make sure it works. I'm going to keep going here. We want to set up our score, so we're going to use a variable. We're going to name the variable score, and we're going to set the value to 0. So I'm just going to left click, type in 0 and enter. So the score value will start out with 0. And then we'll use a update score procedure to make the score add. So we'll go to procedures, grab the first block, the top one. Let's name it update score. And what we're going to do, we're going to hover here, get the set global score to, and we're going to go to math, and we'll get the plus, and we'll go back here to score. So our update score procedure will set the global variable score to the global variable score plus, and we're going to do 0.5 here. And the reason we're going to do 0.5, I'll go to math, is because we have a top and a bottom pipe and they touch at the same time, so that'll make the score go up by 1. And a procedure by itself won't do anything, so we need to go back to procedures once we've created it, and we need to get the call update score block to call it to happen. And we want it to happen when the collide block top and the top pipe touch. So you want to scroll up and you want to find this block here, collide block top, collide with, we have it setting up to collide with the top pipe. Okay, so underneath, when the collide block top collides with the top pipe, these two things happen. We also want the score value So our score value label, we're going to go set the score value label text. We're going to set it to the global score. So I'm going to grab the get global score. And we're also going to call the update score procedure so that it'll add 1 each time it happens. And we want to do that as well with the collide block bottom and bottom pipe. So I'm going to duplicate these. I'm going to drag them down. And then we also need to, basically when we hit the reset button, we want the score to be set back to 0. So we're going to get the set global score to, and we'll add it to the bottom, and we want to set the value back to 0. Okay, so I'm going to pause the video, open up the emulator, and show you guys, and it'll all work here. Okay, so I have my emulator up. If I hit the reset button, what you should see is that the pipes start over and that you can play the game, and it scores. And for whatever reason, it does go with a half. It starts with a half point, but your reset button will reset both the pipes, and you should be able to play now. The only thing left to do is make the game a little harder. So we can add in like a speed up procedure. We could also add in a little extra thing like a worm to collect that'll come in after the pipes. So we're going to do that in part 5. Okay, but you are done. If you got your score working and your pipes are going, you are done with part 4.